What's going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus, Pro Fan Talk. Got a question for you. Are people getting a little bit too sensitive these days because of social media, because it's so easy to connect? Usually you hear this from people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that type of stuff. And fans are feeling some kind of way if their team wins it. We experienced it this week. The Philadelphia fans didn't like some of the calls by the ref, C.J. Gardner-Johnson getting kicked out. And fans sound off about that. But when the guys in the media, the guys that's on these panels and on these shows and on these pregame shows and all that type of stuff, when they start going at it because they getting in their feelings and feeling some kind of way, I find it funny. And it seems like because of this social media era, everybody getting a little bit too sensitive and they making it personal. It's not business no more. It's getting personal. And the latest example was Shannon Sharpe and Kirk Herbstreit. Now, that touches a nerve for me because I'm from Ohio. I played against Kirk Herbstreit in high school. I got a good friend of mine, one of my high school teammates, shout out to Alan DeGraff and Reed, that played with Kirk Herbstreit at Ohio State. So there's a little bit of a connection there, right? But I understand what's going on. And he took issue with the comments, I guess, by Stephen A. Smith on First Take. And they called it out. Now, at first, I listened to the whole clip so I could get the context. And at first, I was like, okay, he said what he said. And then, to me, in my opinion, it seemed like it got a little personal for him. So I'm going to play the clip and you tell me what you think.
Behind them.
Yeah. First Take tried to fire him. They thought he was done. So I'll be excited to see what they talk about on Monday after this performance.
All right. First Take tried to fire him, and he was going off of Stephen A. Smith's comments. And Stephen A. will say that in a minute because we'll hear the response. But that was the first part of it. Then there's a pause, and he continues on. And this is where, in my opinion, it seems like Kirk Herbstreit got a little bit emotional and it started getting personal for him because I'm sure he's got a personal relationship with Ryan Day, the coach. So I'm sure he's tied in with all of the coaches that go there. So listen to, and maybe it's just me, but you listen to it and you hear how it sounds like he takes it to another level. You know what I'm saying? You can hear the inflection in the voice a little bit and listen to it. You'll know what I'm talking about.
They had him out. They're trying to find replacements. But here he is. He's still got his hat on. He's still coaching.
So that was that, right? And I was like, the first part I was okay with. Right? That second part, it was like, you didn't have to go there, but you went there. It's in the course of the conversation. Again, us in Philadelphia are very familiar with this because to me, it seemed like just like Brandon Graham did on the WIP show when all of the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stuff blew up. He got on the show and it seems like he started to overshare a little bit. And this is the same thing with Kirk Herbstreit. Seemed like he overshared a little bit. Then this is Stephen A. Smith's response. And I like this because Stephen A. Smith took ownership immediately. He was like, this wasn't First Take. This was me. I said it. So how I took that is maybe he made the statement on his YouTube show and not on First Take, but maybe it just carried over. I'm not sure. But Stephen A. takes ownership of it specifically. So here's what Stephen A. says.
And I say this in fun to both of them. Stop.
He said it in fun.
Chris
so
Fowler, it's ridiculous. No, it's not. Kirk Herbstreit, First Take, got to get him fired. That is not true. I did. Not First Take. That was me, Stephen A. I'm going to own that. And what did I say specifically, Kirk Herbstreit? Because you got to quote me accurately, my brother.
So he owned it. And he said Kirk did not quote him accurately. So maybe he took the quote out of context. So to me, Stephen A. squashes it right there. You got the quote wrong. I said it. Nobody else said it. It wasn't the show. It was me. And because everybody's got different opinions on the show. But people don't generalize, and rightfully so. If First Take is his show, and you don't say Stephen A. Smith, you say First Take, you know what you're talking about. So I understand that on both sides of it. But again, Stephen A. Smith owned it. He said it was me, and you got it wrong. And when you listen to the reasons Stephen A. Smith was saying what he's saying, he's absolutely right. Especially when you're talking about Ohio State and they losing to Michigan and all of the facts that he laid out on the show. He's not wrong. And that's why I say Kirk Herbstreit, he's done the same thing to other coaches at other schools, and it's his job to tell the truth. Doesn't matter if that's your friend. And that's where it got personal, in my opinion, for Kirk Herbstreit. Because it's Ohio State. I think he's got a relationship with Ohio State. And I've never been in a situation like that where because you could hear it. It sounded like he got emotional. Maybe he had something in his throat. I don't know. All I'm saying is it sounded like, to me, Kirk Herbstreit got a little personal with it. Now, Stephen A. said what he said, right? Now, we're going to go a little bit further, and Shannon Sharpe gets his turn, and Shannon Sharpe does not pull any punches. Now, let me say this about Shannon Sharpe. He has been known to take things to the next level. He is very personal and petty when it comes to stuff like that. He holds grudges like that, and he lays it out. He goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Some people would say it didn't require all of that. I'm kind of in that camp because I didn't think it was that serious, but I understand. Because if you saying, because Shannon is this type of person, he'll take his medicine, but if he didn't say it, or if he feels you coming at him some kind of way, he's going to react. Especially somebody in his position with his history, with the whole thing with Skip Bayless and all of that type of stuff. He is very sensitive to people coming after him in a negative fashion or insinuating that he did something wrong and he thinks he did not. So having all of that background, this is what Shannon Sharpe said.
Even though I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to be a good teammate. I'm going to let it slide. Everybody's at ESPN, because had you not taken the route you taken, I would have lit their ass up. But I'm going to let it slide. You know what, guys? Congratulations, Ohio State. You won the game. But, hey, if we're going to be on the same team, if we're going to work for the same network, don't do that. Kirk, Chris Fowler, I promise you, if you ever mention anything, any platform that I'm on again and talking about, I wonder what they're going to say in negativity, I promise you, ESPN ain't got enough bosses to keep me off y'all for what I'm going to say. So I'm going to let y'all slide today. I'm going to turn it over to D.O. before I get myself in trouble. But don't play with me.
He said, don't play with me. Now, after that, Shannon Sharpe went on his show, the Uncle Ocho show, and apparently him and Kirk Herbstreit communicated, and they're all good. But I guess my thing is, did it really have to go there? Because he took it personal. Kirk Herbstreit took it personal. And then Shannon Sharpe took it personal because he was like, are you taking a jab at me? I'm not sure, but in case you are, let me lay it on the line. So, and that's what I mean. Shannon Sharpe goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Real quick. So that was a very interesting situation that happened. And you can see, I'm not even going to show it, but you can watch the clip. But Dan Orlovsky was like, I'm supposed to follow that? You know? So it is very interesting, man, when all of the guys on the shows that at some point in time thought they were untouchable. Meaning they can say what they want to say, and then everything else is just white noise and fodder. You hear it, but you don't have to hear it or respond to it. Well, now you do, because everybody's got all of these other personal platforms on YouTube and things of that nature, and sometimes their voice is louder. So it can't be ignored anymore. And that is a very interesting situation to be in when people that operate on YouTube or in the content creator space can put out messages that the quote unquote bigwigs can hear. Now, obviously, this is a different example because you're talking about two of the biggest in the business with Shannon Sharpe and Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit been doing this a lot longer than Shannon Sharpe has, but Shannon Sharpe, his platform is much bigger than Kirk Herbstreit's, I would argue right now. So it's funny how the playing field gets level, and even us as content creators, all it takes is one tweet, and they'll take it and they'll put it on their show, and then it blows everybody. Everybody in that circle gets blown up. They get the traffic, they get the attention, all that type of stuff. So it's very interesting seeing how people are getting sensitive and very emotional, and you're supposed to keep it business. It ain't personal. You're supposed to keep it about business. And sometimes those lines get blurred.